Yeah.
That's a lot of people.
Okay. Is everyone ready? Probably need a timer of some sort. Advocacy. The Ministry of Magic should have substantially amended regulations on the loaning of time turners to students by at least banning the provision of time turners to students for the intended purpose of attending additional classes. The advantage is risk. The benefits of time travel are incredibly limited, but the risks of usage are astronomically high. Risk destroying time and potentially results in its total extinction. The possibility of altering the past and causing harm to the self far exceeds any possible small benefit to using them. Best author on the subject concludes Af. J.K. Rowling. No date. Time travel is possible only in limited sense. Magic can take you only so far. According to Croker, spent his entire career in the Department of Mystery studying time to magic. As her investigations stand, attempts to travel back further in the future resulted in catastrophic harm. All such experiences have been abandoned since 1899, when Elise became trapped in the year 1402. Her body, at age 5 centuries, returned to the present and irreparably damaged. She died. Her 5 days caused great disturbance to the life paths, although she best changing the course of their life so dramatically that no fewer than 25 of their descendants vanished in the present, having been unborn. Time itself had been disturbed. The Ministry of Magic had a great deal of trouble in covering this up, and since that time, the most stringent laws and penalties have been placed around this traveling time travel. Even though use of a very limited amount of time turners, the Ministry's disposal is hedged around with hundreds of laws. The use of a single hour can have dramatic consequences. The Ministry of Magic seeks to restrict its guarantees and permits the use of this rare and powerful object time turners only solve the most trivial problems because it's just the human mind cannot comprehend time, so it cannot comprehend the damage that will ensue if we presume to tamper with its laws. And even mundane tasks are fraught with danger. Stringent requirements for time travel compounds already high risk. Omara, 14 in the Harry Potter universe, always used time travel. She ended up in St. Mungo's where she died. The event was enough to make time turners a heavily guarded asset in the Ministry of Magic. So why does McGonagall give Hermione one for studying? Hermione is given one time turner so she can attend several classes at once. While it seems pretty mundane, her trip in the past and back again were fraught with danger. The time turner requires the witch and wizard to return back to the same moment when she or he or she originally used the device in order to create a closed loop that you cannot allow your past self to see you. And despite assurances, Hermione was still an unacceptable risk. Minimally, the risk of proliferation outweighs. Huff, 13. I do not understand why the Ministry would allow a 13-year-old witch to have such advice and trust she was only going to use it for classes. I know Hermione had to make all kinds of assurances, but really, I think the school should have had told Hermione to suck it up. You can't take every single class, so make a choice. I don't care how responsible she is. Then Dumbledore encourages her to use it to change time. Why don't wizards use these magical undo devices for everything then? If there was a device you could go back in time and alter it, well, those devices wouldn't be safe. Everyone would want one, and there's no way the Ministry would give one to a 13-year-old girl. Hermione explains nobody's supposed to change time. Nobody. Here's the problem. How does one prove what time was changed? And responsible, virtuous agents don't check. No one is infallible, and the risk of using one outweighs Omara. 14. There are too many pitfalls to warrant the use of pen in anything but the simple of a task. Going back in time more than just a few hours puts you in serious risk of meeting yourself and destroying your sanity. There are the changes that you can make to the present dependent is used improperly. User could start becoming dependent on using the time turner or easily slip backwards in time. They risk destroying themselves. As responsible as Hermione might be, no one is infallible, and I don't know wizards or witches who end up using the device that end up either addicts or exploded all over the room. The risk of proliferation is high. McGonagall in 2010, Potter students who cannot be entrusted with time turners because they become addicted to them. They end up using the time turner for more than just attending their classes. Mr. Potter, you've taken to using the time turner as your solution to everything. You used to get back and remember all. You vanished from a closet in a fashion apparent to other students instead of going back after you were out and getting me or someone else to come and open the door. And past wrongs prove the necessity of bans. Elberly, 17. Do you remember in 1993 when nearly all wizards possessed a time turner? How many of them were using it for illegal doings such as robbery, preventing death, and even covering up crime scenes? That was until the Ministry of Magic banned the use of time turners. Time turners can be used to change the past, changing the death of the Death Eaters could result in countless painful experiences in the present and future. We obviously do not want that to happen. So yet now there's a possibility, and time turners are not key to learning. Hermione proves. Jordan, 16. Hermione said she used a time turner to attend several classes at once. In subsequent years, she does 10 subjects and manages to fit them in without the use of a time turner, and so do other examples. Huff, 13. Bill and Percy Weasley and Barty Crouch Jr. all known to have achieved 12 owls. Hermione is the only student to use a time turner. Bill, Percy, and Barty Jr. must have found some other means to achieve their 12 owls, and the risk of using time turners is so high that no one would risk using it to change the world, not even he who must not be named. Ward Vantro, 15. One objection for being law that involves time turners. Why doesn't Harry just go back in time to defeat Voldemort? Let's say Harry goes back in time. Harry wouldn't have to travel 50 years back in time. How can Harry have specific enough knowledge to accomplish his aim? If Harry were to be killed, obviously it would be bad for Harry, but more seriously, that creates a paradox. Harry would then die decades before he's born. What are more frightening possibilities arise as far as paradoxes are concerned? If Harry's successful, the further back in time one goes, the more complex the results of change one makes in the past of Voldemort. Never mind the part the implication would be far-reaching, unexpectedly negative. Harry's mother begins as Snape's best friend. The rift between them is caused by Lily's disgust with Snape's affiliation with the Death Eaters. Voldemort is prevented from rising power. The Death Eaters would have never existed. The friendship between Lily and Snape remains unbroken. It seems fair and likely that Lily would have been James Potter at the time of day, and if Lily and James had never gone together, Harry would have never been born, and it could not have been possible for him to go back in time and defeat Voldemort. Paradox. Even aside from the increased difficulties and high possibility of creating paradox that would literally destroy the time travel, it's not clear that time turners can be used to travel forward in time. Even Voldemort doesn't want to mess with time. That doesn't even try. That's because Voldemort is no dummy. Hermione describes Harry the terrible things that would happen when he was encounter the past or future selves, and those concerns are not inconsequential. Loads of wizards end up killing a past or future selves by mistake. Even small, even seemingly inconsequential changes can have momentous implications that are all but impossible to predict. The risk of such a magnitude and difficulty so extreme that the chance time would be foolhardy. Framework. The standard is maximizing utility. Util is true. Till Udagowski, 15. Surely you wanted to hurt people, said Quirrell. First, but just Just because I wanted to hurt someone doesn't mean it's right. What makes something right if we're not wanting it? Ah, Harry said, preference util, Mr. Potter. In the end, people all do what they want to do. Well, obviously, Harry said, but it doesn't mean that me wanting to hurt this little has had the power to move me anymore from my moral considerations. Other people have done huge amounts for me. My parents took me in because they were good people and become a dark lord to betray that is in their impulse of kindness would shelter me. Not only their parents, and that is what have been betrayed. And revisionary intuition is reliable and leads to util independent of the above card. Yukowski, any object level moral reasoning has been valuable. Meta level moral reasoning is more than useless. People do much better when discussing whether they feel good or bad than when they discuss the moral meaning of good or bad. But I say the project of morality is a project of renormalizing intuition. There's nothing else to argue with. Even modus ponens is an intuition. If you try to violate util, you run into moral incoherence. People will pay the same amount to save 50,000 lives as 5,000 lives. The intuition is wrong. The brain can't successfully multiply. The local choice to save one life does not depend on how many lives already exist. It is more important that lives can save than we conform to any particular ritual in saving them. And moral substitutability is true, and only consequentialism doesn't explain it. Sooner, Armstrong 92, deontological claim if I promise to mow the grass, there's a moral reason starting the mower would enable the mow. It would not follow that if I have a moral reason to start the mower, since I'm not promised to start my mower. Deontologist might respond that there's a moral to do whatever is necessary to enable. The principles are very different. If I breaking my promises necessary enable for two other people to keep their promises, then give up. Deon, phenomenal introspection is a true Cinnabobby 14. The view that phenomenal introspection is unreliable is about as radical as a vision. We can reliably introspect whether we're in a experience of pain, that we are able to introspectively determine what pain is like. Just as one can look inward on one's experience of yellow and appreciate its brightness, one can look inward on experience of pleasure. Phenomenal introspection will reveal pleasure's goodness, pleasure and displeasure means thin phenomenal states, as long as negative judgment of pleasure come from unreliable process. The argument from disagreement will eliminate, while the reliable process of phenomenal introspection will support pleasure's goodness. In phenomenal experience, we have a plausible candidate for objective value. I don't really feel like reading good in, so. All right, open for cross, ready to lose to Marshall. Are we doing 4 minutes of prep, by the way?
Sure, is that what you want?
Sure.
4 minutes?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's start with the McGonagall card and the first Yukowski card, because people might be confused.
Yeah.
These are not from the original Harry Potter series, correct? So these are from a fan fiction written by Yukowski, correct? Okay.
It is.
So McGonagall in this fan fiction suggests they're bad, right?
Yeah.
You would agree that if I'm an author, I cannot write a character who is more wise than I am, right? Because I do not have access to that knowledge that they would have to know about moral reasoning.
Yeah, so you're going to go for the distinction between, like, you can obviously be a better person in that you can do actions that the author would not take.
Right, but you cannot be more insightful than the author is, correct?
Sure, there's that
okay,
limitation.
so this means that Yukowski, you would agree, is utilitarian, right?
Yep.
So McGonagall's insight is going to be limited to the moral insight that we trust a utilitarian to have, correct?
Correct. Although McGonagall can, of
That's
course,
an
pretend
excellent
to be
thing.
non-utilitarian for the purposes of the book.
Right, but Yukowski is not able to get into the mindset of someone who actually understands ethics.
I would, wait, someone who understands ethics implying that utilitarian is not correct? Okay.
Yes. Alright, so let's start at the top of the act. You have this J.K. Rowling card, which says time travel leads to all these horrible paradoxes, you can change time, those will all be catastrophic, right?
I want to be clear that the card that says paradoxes are the impact is the last card in the
Right,
advantage.
so
but
the claim you can
does
change
not...
time. The J.K. Rowling card says you can change time in the past and it has very negative consequences.
Correct.
Right, and you say J.K. Rowling says this, correct?
I'm reciting J.K. Rowling.
But J.K. Rowling explicitly in Pottermore does not say this. Instead she says, this other guy, what is his name? Croker says this thing. And she specifically is like, I'm not going to say this, but I'm going to put in Croker and what he thinks about the subject.
Yeah, so
don't you think it's suspicious that J.K. Rowling would not say time travel has this effect, and instead insist on someone else saying it so she can distance herself from this commitment?
So 3 things. One, you're obviously going to go for like the, well, why don't you read more Pottermore? Because clearly J.K. Rowling writes in the first person for everyone else.
Right, so anything
Croker?
she actually believes, she writes in the first person. Why would she not write in the first person for this?
That is untrue, because you've not forwarded a reason for that as the case. But number 2, Croker is an expert. She explicitly lists all of his qualifications for the reason that she believes that he is qualified to talk about.
Wait, she believes he's qualified? She had to come to this realization? She didn't make him qualified?
Well, yeah, he's obviously qualified.
Right, so if he's qualified, why doesn't she just say these things? Right, so if I were to say, if you were to ask me, right, Marshall, is util true? And I was like, well, Yukowski thinks so. Clearly that means I don't think util is true, right?
Wait, why is that the case?
When I distance myself, there's a Grissian implicature that says I am not committed to the conclusion because I'm not willing to place my own authority next to it.
But that's clearly not true. Every time you teach something here at debate,
let's talk about Cracker's authorities.
Okay.
Yeah. What higher education does he have?
I don't know.
Can you name a single philosophy class he's taken?
No.
Are there any schools of higher education in Harry Potter? Does Hogwarts start for 7 years of school?
I don't know.
Okay. Cool. So let's talk about these evidence about how Hermione is sort of not responsible enough.
Correct.
What do you have against Hermione?
Nothing. But she's a 13-year-old girl. She should be given the ability to turn back time and just to take more classes.
Okay. So let's talk about what the implication of paradox is.
Sure.
What is the impact of a paradox?
That, like, it would create, I don't know, they're bad.
Why?
Because it destroys time itself.
Wait. Okay, so if time, it's possible that time is destroyed at some point. If time is destroyed in the future, would that destroy time going backward?
I don't know how time travel works. You're going to read the cards that say time travel operates.
No, I'm going to say if time travel destroys time, and time travel is possible, time would already be destroyed.
Sure.
So time has not been destroyed, so time travel can't destroy time.
Well, that is the end of cross-sex, so sure.
Okay. No, I'm going to keep asking questions, obviously. You know I don't take prep.
Oh.
Alright. So, let's talk. Let's talk about the util framework.
Sure.
Okay? So most of these arguments are silly, but let's talk about the more substitutability argument.
Okay, sure.
Okay. So the claim is that if I'm going to be able to say I should mow my lawn, then I have to be able to do the thing that say to mow my lawn. Correct. Okay. So what is the individuation for an action? So why is filling up my lawnmower not just part of mow my lawn?
Well, what non-arbitrary line defines what is the difference between an action? In fact, the Senator Armstrong argument is that only consequentialism can unify that.
Okay, why?
Because there's no non-arbitrary difference between what is starting my mower versus mowing the grass.
Good. There's no non-arbitrary difference. So we can say that starting my mower is part of mowing my lawn.
No, why would that be the case?
If there's no non-arbitrary difference,
sorry. No. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. What else do I want to talk about? Can I look at the F?
Sure. It's in the drive, though.
Ooh, fancy. Aha!
Yeah.
Well, that makes things easier.
It's been there for like an hour.
Yeah, well, okay.
Also, you debated this exact same F last session.
But
I didn't change anything. I just stuck.
You added a bunch of framework stuff. Okay.
I took the demo debate framework and put one card from the Utikowski Harry Potter fan.
So util says that we should be. Util says we should be concerned with the greater good, right?
Sure.
All right. Didn't Grindelwald also think we should be concerned with the greater good?
Gosh. Yeah, for the greater good. Everyone's got that problem with it. They're obviously just bad utilitarians.
Okay, so Grindelwald was a bad utilitarian.
He was.
Right?
He killed a lot of
so
people.
what evidence do we have that you're a particularly good utilitarian? Because we're trusting your intuition about these questions. But my question is, unless you give evidence, so if being a utilitarian when you're a bad person produces poor results, and you are now trying to do the utilitarian reasoning, if you do not read evidence about your own moral character, why should we trust the conclusions you draw when trying to infer
I cited a bunch of Reddit comments that seem to be pretty colorful.
So your argument is that the moral quality of the people on Reddit is such that we should trust their inferences about consequences.
Plus J.K. Rowling and Utikowski, both of whom
so this is going to depend on J.K. Rowling's moral authority. As though J.K. Rowling said the thing you claim whatever his name said.
Yeah, Croker.
Okay. Is there anything else I want to make fun of here?
I mean, I'm okay with this, honestly, because it just means less prep time for the 2NR.
Prep time is meaningless. I'll stop. Okay.
148 left.
All right. So you didn't read Gooden?
I did not.
Okay.
I figured that card was easier to make fun of than the other ones. So.
That's correct. All right. It's going to be 2 off on case. You should be able to find it in the thingamajig, the drive. It's called readable because this is the version which is readable for me. That was not helpful. All right. Is anyone not ready?
Can I rename it to be like 1NC or something like that?
Sure.
Okay. Okay, 2 then case.
Yep, 2 off then case. It's saying 2 off. You know what's going on.
Yeah.
All right. Anyone not ready? Okay. A is the counterplan text. The Ministry of Magic should have dissolved itself by transferring all sovereignty over wizarding law and bureaucratic regulatory policy to Her Majesty's government of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland. B is the competition. First, mutual exclusivity. Making regulatory changes to ministry policy incompatible, transferring away all authority to make such decisions. Second, more benefits. Ministry of Magic corruption means the ministry has no more stand to take any action except modes of self-dissolution. First, extraordinary corruption by the Ministry of Magic deprives them of legitimacy. Barton 05. A government tortured children, designed prisons to suck life and hope out of inmates, place citizens in prison without a hearing, ordered death without trial, allowed the powerful to control policies, likely to be prosecuted, conducted trials without defense counsel, used to seem to force conventions, maintain covert surveillance, offered no democratic undertaking, and control the press. Ministry of Magic. Barton continues and compares directly to the legitimacy of the British Crown. Rowling strips the ministry of being basic justification. Lack of election is highlighted by the Muggle Prime Minister. The Prime Minister features a discussion of election of political opponents, elements absent from the ministry. The ministry enforces and adopts laws, but is never mentioned in the legislative process. These missions are purposeful. Government lacks legitimacy. I'm reading the wrong one. Second, ministry policy affects and regulates smugglers. Smugglers have no say in the government. The ministry is not even oriented towards smugglers' good. Joseph Morpho 2. The pains of taking to keep magic secret affects the magical smuggle law with vague consideration. The regulations demonstrate little concern for the damage smugglers might suffer when Frank goes missing. The ministry shows no interest in since Bryce is a muggle. A necklace tag, do not touch, is claimed 19 muggle owners. It reflects less concern for the welfare of muggles and to keep muggles away. The impact is democratically legitimacy. Democracy requires the enfranchisement of all affected parties. Good no 7. The ultimate interest principle from the fundamental egalitarian and equality and power is arguably the cornerstone of democracy, where man is not the constant, the demos is constant with our settled views about what is to make a decision in a democratic way, both derived from our shared root of all effective interests and made likely the best general principle of conclusion. Everyone affected by a decision of a government should have the right to participate. And governmental legitimacy is the constraint of government action. If government is illegitimate, it does not matter how good their policies, the government may not take it, they must cease to exist. Rousseau. When I walk as necessary, I will to my feet carry me. The body politic is the same will and the legislative enforcement and the executive without concurrence. Nothing should be done. Legislative power belongs to the people alone. Executive power cannot belong to the generality. Public force needs an age of its own. Here we have the state. It bears the name Prince. Thus all will of Prince should be nothing but the general will. The Prince should have no will act in that of the sovereign. The social union would evaporate and the body politic dissolve. Next off, the fatalism in C. The possibility of time travel is only compatible with B theory of time. Reality lacks tense. It's not only logically entailed, it's also the best suggested by the books, even how time travel works in Prisoner of Azkaban. Silverstein 04. There's only one conception in which time travel makes sense. The tenseless theory that holds the past and present and future are equally real. The temporal relations are fixed forever. The distinction between past and future is only an illusion. On the tense picture, neither past nor future exists. Therefore, there's no past future to travel to. One consequence, even time travel is possible. It's not possible to change the past. If you go back, you always went back in time. Silverstein continues and shows that Harry Potter's constant B theory of time. Upon close examination, Harry Potter did not change events, they had already happened. Malfoy was never killed, and the events are the same. The first sequence shows there was a swish in third of an axe. In the second, there was a swishing noise in third of an axe. The executioner swings his axe into a fence. This is a closed causal loop. And the B theory of time entails fatalism. You can't have a moral obligation to act one way or another because there's no way for you to possibly act differently. You can't have any more reason to change the future than you can't have changed the past. All both are fixed in the same way. Diane Kemper 07. Suppose I'm moving from A to C, my location with no band on the ontology of places. Here's an indexical rule for 3 is just as real as 2. The order is already laid. If C is brushing my teeth, there's no possibility of declining to brush my teeth at the time. The past contingent events are contingently fixed. The contingent G does not give rise to power over the past. I cannot avoid passing through C regardless of whether I choose to. Indeed, the possibility of time travel suggests the truth of fatals, and precluding the possibility of ethical obligation directly. Diane Kemper 07. Suppose the time travel hands you an envelope that contains a description of the waits 2 days from now. He urges you not to open the envelope. You comply at the end, you read an accurate description with the same its agency diminished. No. Suppose, however, you repeat the experiment. This time it's virtually envelope. You know, feeling future is fixed. You would. The day draws near, you realize that you've made attempts to avoid fulfilling the prophecy leading from Melon. In other words, since we cannot change the past, that means the consequences are fixed. No utilitarian impacts are possible. There's literally nothing we can do. Obligations are fixed. There's no possibility of acting otherwise. On case. First is an overview to case. Time display important role in the development of virtue. Nat 01. Children take control of their lives. Harry and Hermione watch themselves replay an event in more than one place at a time. We do their mistakes and say Buckley. Harry tells Hermione, I knew I could do it because I'd already done it, expressing knowing what they did not know we know. This represents the only possible healing. The story centers on what children need to find strength to do the right thing. Harry must go beyond the apparent truth and learn the truth, what he sees, and to act on what is right. And the moral training of children is essential and central moral task. Developing virtue of children ought to be our chief aim, as it alone allows goodness. And for some reason, Plato, 346 C. In children, the first sensation of pleasure and pain is in these the goodness matters come to the soul, and only lucky and the wisdom comes, even in old age. When love and hatred spring up brightly in the souls, those yet unable to grasp the rational account, they have rightly been trained, fitting this is goodness. The part of rightly trained to hate what ought to be hated and to love what ought to be had. Takes on a util impact. We ought not find pleasure in the suffering of others. Similarly, we ought to be repulsed if we to see our own child be tortured. If you say the pleasure you see in watching your child be tortured is a positive aspect of that experience, it means that you do not have a sensation of how we ought to properly orient to moral action. This means that it takes out Sin Armstrong, first of all, not Sin Armstrong, it takes out the nonsense person who's silly. Sinababu. It takes out Sinababu evidence who assumes that we always see some sort of positive experience. Even doesn't take out Sinababu. Plato also is going to contest the idea that pain and pleasure should be aggregative, because that assumes that all we care about is the quality, not the quantity, the quantity, not the quality of this pain and pleasure. But that's exactly what Plato's denying. Lastly, pain and pleasure have to be an orientation. In other words, we have to train what is it we take pleasure and pain, which means virtue is going to preclude the link back into the NC framework in the first place. Let's start on the framework debate. So we're going to go to the bottom and then we'll go back up to the top, where I'm going to read why Lawrence says understand time. So his first util argument is something silly, no doubt. Oh yeah, it's the core card. This is just Harry and a fake assertive bi-utilitarian saying that he likes utilitarian. It doesn't have any meaningful one. Also, my argument's going to take it out anyway because we have to take pleasure and pain in the right sort of things. Also, if this were true and the actual utilitarians were true, they would indicate a repugnant conclusion. I mean that it better to have a world of trillions of people, all who are slightly happy, than a world of 10,000 people, all who are very, very happy. But this reverses the order of value. We have to only, because we only value pain and pleasure because we first value people who experience those pain and pleasure. If I were to say that I value my dog's happiness, you know I value my dog. This means utilitarianism can't account for that. We have to first give the people intrinsically. But if that's true, that means the virtue, the character of those people, they have to be good people prior to any sort of assessment. This is also empirically verified in our judgments about people like Hitler. If you knew that Hitler had escaped his bunker and has faked his own death and lived happily in the Swiss Alps, you nothing as a positive moral experience. This is because unless we first trust the people are good people, we don't value the happiness. This means virtue ethics are going to control the link back to the assessment that the AC is even going to be good ethical framework in the first place. Now for Yukowski evidence, talking about moral intuitionism. First, no link, I don't talk about moral intuition. Second, the Plato evidence specifically indicates that we should question our moral intuition because we've not been well wrought up in the first place. I would argue that most people on Reddit or utilitarians have been questionably wrought out, so we shouldn't trust their intuitions and how they're going to assess them. Also, there's no justification for intuition. Even if the word justification for intuition only proves that certain principles of aggregation are going to apply in some context, but that doesn't prove aggregation is implicit. Nor does it justify why pain and pleasure are important. The Senator Armstrong card, I'll just read a card here if I can find it. No. Go. Okay. Action not differentiate between enable and action. The action form is flanter or whole, and there's no essential difference between enable and the action itself. Anscombe. A person can be doing something which he nevertheless does do if it takes time. He can say something is falling over, but it did not fall. The break between he, why, and he's mentioned why is the answer to the question why you Xing when instead of whether he's going to why, not think is quite sharp. There's not so much to choose between. She's making cheese, she's putting the kettle on. In order to make cheese, make a certain division that are simply equivalent. The implication is that we can say that my moral obligation to keep my promises stems because this is an act of keeping my promises because it's unified by the same practical intention, which means we don't need moral substitutability to explain this phenomenon. Lastly, no paradoxes. First, the card I already read at the bottom of the case proves no paradox. Also proves we can't change time. But even if that's not true, I have another card somewhere here. This one. Wikipedia 07. Time travel can be two types. That one, time travel is consistent. Two, time travel is flexible. Type 1 does not allow paradoxes. 1.1, time travel is constrained. 1 attempts to make a paradox. 1 goes voluntary, uncontrolled time travel. 1.2, the knockoff self-consistency principle asserts that time travel constraints the remaining self-consistent attempt to violate consistency fails. An example which would fall into 1, the Harry Potter and the Prison of Azkaban. Harry went back in time as they do. They perform the action previously, although neither the characters of the reader will aware the causes. Also takes out because Jake Rowling does not endorse the claim he makes. Also, we should not trust this person. He is trying to justify himself because he lost his friend because they made a mistake. So he's trying to justify why time travel is super dangerous. So he's not accountable, which provides a error theory to the intuitions of Krauke.
Okay. Why does the B theory of time imply fatalism?
So the B theory of time implies... Do you know what the B theory of time is?
Sure. Can you explain that too?
Right. So
While we're on that.
So we can differentiate between the A theory of time, which is the idea that time flows. The present is real, and we're moving into the future, which is not yet real, and moving away from the past, which is no longer real. This is in contrast to the B theory of time, which is tenseless. So it says the present, future, and past all have the same ontological reality, and I'm just simply located in one of them in the indexical. So in the same way, if I say here is an indexical to mean right here, and now that somewhere over in China is not as real as right here, so to time, when I say here, just means now is just an indexical to right now, but the future still has the same sort of reality. If that's true, then in the same way, I can't control what happens in China right now, and so can't be morally responsible to it. So too, I can't control what happens in the future, and so can't be morally responsible for it. So because the future is fixed, in the same way things in China are fixed right now, since I can't control those, I can't have an obligation concerning them. Similarly, since I can't control the future, I can't have an obligation concerning
why
it.
does theory of time travel imply that the future is fixed?
Okay, so there was a couple of arguments in that for the evidence. The first is that you have to have something to travel to. You can only travel to something if it happens to exist. This makes sense. You can't travel to China if there's no China. I've tried to get to Narnia a lot. Can't do it. Empirical evidence.
That's unfortunate.
The second point is that the books in the Harry Potter universe already imply the theory of time because it turns out when they go back in time, they don't change anything. So Harry and Hermione think that they're saving Buckbeak, but it turns out Buckbeak had already been saved, and the switch until the acts they heard. Right? This is how Harry is able to use the Patronus, even though they had not yet gone back in time in the first iteration of the loop, which means that the time travel is fixed. You don't actually change the past. You just go back to a past already fixed. This is also why none of your paradoxes apply, nor any of your impacts about how we change the past, because that doesn't actually happen in the Harry Potter universe.
Okay, so what's the sort of interaction between the Rousseau evidence and the Plato evidence on the case?
Well, so the Rousseau evidence is an analysis of what states should do. Plato is an analysis of what's good for individuals.
Okay, so, but you will not defend, like, Plato's political theory as applied to states. It's Rousseauian?
No, so none cards from the Republic were read. Incidentally, I'm very interested in Plato's political philosophy, so if you'd like to read criticisms of it, I will certainly respond to in the 2-1-0, and you can't waste my time.
Okay, that's good to know. Oh, hi, Jake. How's it going? Let's talk more about this dissolution counterplan. First of all, what does it... Did you read a piece of Ev that says the British... Or do you fiat that the British government accepts the new Ministry of Magic?
No.
Okay, so you've just said that they'll
all
dissolve...
All agent fiat's illegit.
Okay, correct. So you just fiat that the Ministry of Magic dissolves and then, like, presents themselves to the British government. And they're like, we'll love new wizards that, like, may or may not have killed a bunch of muggles. Like, then they take us in?
Oh, they might arrest us. I'm fine with that.
Okay. What is the standard? What is the standard for legitimacy that your Rousseau evidence sets up? So, for example, like, how much, like, what is the bright line for, like, an illegitimate versus an illegitimate government?
I don't think there is a clear bright line. In the same way there's not a clear bright line between orange and yellow on a color wheel, yet we can still say that one thing is clearly orange and another thing clearly yellow. So, similarly, I may not know the exact bright line, but I know the Ministry of Magic is not legit.
So which piece of Ev in the 1 and C says the British government is legitimate?
Okay, so there's a comparison card made in the Joseph and Wolf... Oh, no. The second... Barton card specifically talks about how, in the world of Harry Potter, the British crown is elected via political opponents in a free democratic election, which contrasts to the non-democratic features of the Ministry of Magic.
Oh, that's a good card. Okay. Prep.
You're missing 2 triangles. What's this thing? What is this thing?
It holds paper.
Not anymore. Sorry, person stand this is. Prep time's so boring when people take prep time. I don't. Oh, well. Oh, I should upload this answer
I'm
card.
probably not going to answer it anyways, so...
You want to debate theory of action?
Nope. Not against you.
Who would you debate it against?
Literally anyone else. Oh, not Jake Nebel, for sure.
Bruins would not have a theory of action debate with you.
Okay, 2:30 remaining. I'll put the dock in. Can I get the stand?
It's over there.
Okay. The order is new off, the case, the counterplan, the whatever the time thingy is.
Wait, new off, then the AF?
The case, yeah.
Then the counterplan, okay.
It's like the typical order, right?
I don't know. I always put fatalism on top.
Yeah, but I don't want to answer that, so.
That makes sense why you put it on bottom then.
If I drop it, I drop it, whatever. Okay. Anyone not ready?
Is this a document online?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
I don't think I will accept a single argument if I have it my way.
I've already justified a virtue framework once. I could go for courage as an independent voter if I need to.
But I'm courageous. I put everything I'm reading into the doc for you to read.
That's not a bad point.
Okay. Is everyone ready? Interpretation, all burdens imposed by both debaters must be necessary and sufficient violation. Marshall said that time travel means fatalism, which means no more obligation exists. Reciprocity, they can win on this argument, but I can't, which means destruction, unturnable, increase the 2-to-1 negative advantage, which definitionally Nibbin means the F can never win. Fairness debate is a competitive activity. Government wins and losses drop the debater for deterrence and rectify skew, competing interpretation, reasonabilities, arbitrary collapse, no RVS, because Marshall repeatedly about why they're bad at Philly. Case. The F solves the largest impact in the debate, which is self-harm and destruction of time itself, which is rallying evidence and the best on this topic. Any risk of this outweighs every negative impact its effects beings across time itself and results in unjustified harm to others. Any risk that this is a moral wrong means you should gut check against silly arguments and vote after save the students from dangerous, unregulated time travel devices because that's obviously wrong. Concede no paradoxes, but the harm is real and verified anyways without winning. The paradoxes argument rallying is qualified, and so is Croker. Spent his whole career studying this, and Phil Ed is not keen to being qualified to talk about time. The ministry is literally trapped time in a jar, which means you should default to the rallying evidence, even though Marshall introduced some skepticism in your mind. The virtue turn, no UDQs, there's no students using time turners now. That's tough. Banning them wouldn't increase the number of using them. They forgot to read the UDQs counterplan. The AF outweighs the high risk of harming others, and when one self does not justify self-improvement, the AF turns the ace of one is secrecy. Allowing students to use time turners to enhance themselves at the expense of others is unvirtuous and not useful in the real world, creates a culture of vice and causes lying and deception. B is fallibility. Every student risks serious harm to others and being dependent on time turners. You should allow them to develop themselves in low-risk situations. That's more AF in the turns, because every reason Marshall says the turns don't matter in the next speech just proves the arbitrary and vague nature of virtue ethics. It's also artificial because there can't be magic-specific virtue for wizards, so magic-specific forms of inculcating virtue is impossible. The framework debate, use ethical modesty, total confidence in a moral system is impossible given limited human knowledge and is most consistent with real-world decision-making intuitions, but what counts as the harm should be relevant in your impact calculus, and if their framework concludes that student death isn't an impact, you should feel comfortable rejecting it. I don't need a util good warrant to win that students hurting themselves is bad, which flips the burden back on them. One even concedes that consequences matter to some people, at least in some relevant sense, which means you should feel comfortable voting affirmative. The counterplan, it doesn't solve the AF. Any risk that the British government is unable to secure or ban time turners due to a lack of expertise means the risk advantage outweighs since the damage to time is irreparable, and Marshall did not read a say yes card. It links to the NC. Duh. Conditionality is voting issue. The logic of the Ministry of Magic, the inability to consistently hold a position is the problem of illegitimacy. The one NC establishes mean they link to themselves independently excuse one or time strategy, since offense against the counterplan can't be sufficient for the AF to wins. Means we can't engage and let them read bad advocacies which accused offenders in education. No link to the Rousseau net benefit because the Ministry of Magic now coordinates with Muggle Prime Minister now, and is also not specific to Harry Potter. Perm do both ban time turners and dissolve the ministry. Conclusion also does not follow. Even the Ministry of Magic is corrupt. It doesn't mean that they shouldn't regulate time turners. Their standards are untenable because literally every government is corrupt in some way and should still pass some form of regulations. Only proves that reform is good, which is proven by the fact that Kingsley Shacklebolt weeded all the corruption after becoming minister, and Hermione is running the Ministry of Magic right now in a legitimate manner. Perm do the counterplan, a new government just becomes the new ministry, and they'll pass the AF. Any other magic runs into the problem of Theseus ship as to what counts as a new government. Exceed the magical, it causes pure blood backlash, which results in rejects the new government and form their own government, which would be much more corrupt, proven since Muggle integration was a strong platform for Death Eater recruitment. As many wizards reject the idea associated with Muggles. Legitimacy to say no wizard would ever accept the legitimacy of the British government. Rejects solvency and causes wizard and Muggle conflicts over integration. Permutation to the AF, then the negative. Two net benefits. One sets a strong precedent for the banning of time turners in the new administration, which deters use. Two, gradual reintegration solves better. No government survives rapid expansion, which justifies the permutation. If the counterplan fiats the time turners are still banned, it justifies permutation to the counterplan. Secrecy to set the Ministry of Magic is designed to keep the Wilson Wool secret. Rip House. And three, the governing body considers the main function to keep Muggles ignorant of the wizard community. Wizards feel exploitation. Muggle has wanted to kill them, and it's key to protect both wizards and Muggles. Past integration has failed. Harry Potter wiki noted ever since the 15th century. Persecution making many of the wizards community feel sentenced to widespread persecution, which burnings, including Muggles, mistakenly burned the Ministry of Magic, attempted to liaise with the Muggle British government. This failure forced the country to move towards secrecy. Now the time fatalism thing, fatalism wrong. Quote from the Chamber of Secrets: "It's our choices, Harry, that show us what we truly are." The strong conclusion is wrong. Each card in the one is heavily qualified does not imply the conclusion necessarily true. Any risk that fatalism is wrong and inconsistent with your intuition means you should reject it. Silverstein votes F. Silverstein and Fortes Rowling present consistent time travel qualified. Yes, we see 10 views of time, 2 logically incompatible notions of time. Nobody's supposed to change time. Hermione's operating with 10 views of time. No need to only worry about changing the path of the theory of time. True wizards have trapped time and self-uncharted. That suggests that time is the thing which flows and changes. And so there are other card votes F2, Decover, and 7. There are several considerators that favor the A theorists. Believe that B theorists cannot explain the actual future of the claim that it's a fixed one. This is not clear future. In fact, it's less fixed than the past or present cause. B theoretical projection believes that it is an impasse. There's no link because only magic can explain time. In Harry Potter, Riddle, and 4 time models, a basic understanding of the way that time works in the story. No, it's magic. The time machine in this world is based on magic, not science. Rowling's magic, the force of the soul. The Patronus charm is a perfect example, market example, and it doesn't imply fatalism. Grand Soul 95, the proposition for it responding to a future event is already true. Does not entail that there's only one possible future. What entails that there's only one actual future. Any given time, there's many futures which are possibly B theory that does not imply fatalism. Okay. Didn't read the Craig card and marked the other card at the Patronus is a perfect example.
Okay, cool. Ready?
Oh, gosh. Okay. I'm just marking the card.
Okay.
And I spelled marked wrong. Okay. Yep, 148.
All right. So, when I inevitably win, drop the argument on theory, would you like me to drop the conditionality of the counterplan or the counterplan?
So, I know you're going to propose this thing, which is you won't go for the time thingy if I can see that Kondo is a reason for why you're stuck with the counterplan, and I'm willing to accept that offer.
All right, so now let's talk about your Kondo bad argument. You read an intrinsicness poem, correct?
No.
No?
I never said
you
perm
got rid
do
of
the
that?
F. I did not say the words perm, do the F, and something else. So it's not an intrinsicness perm.
That seems like a very silly way of understanding all language.
Sure.
Okay. So let's talk about the F. You say Rowling is qualified and so is Croker because he spent his whole time studying this, right? But you don't answer my argument that says he's just trying to justify the fact that he caused his friend to die and now is like trying to make up
But none of
excuses
that
for this,
disproves literally the fact that he works in the Ministry of Magic department, which is trapped.
Right, but you don't
time
answer the
itself
error
in the
theory,
draw.
which says that Croker specifically feels so guilty about what he did that he's not thinking clearly on this issue.
Yeah, and I also said that you should still accept the
So
impurity.
you say there's no
of people who are
uniqueness because no
qualified.
students are using time turners?
Yeah, except for Hermione.
I'm confused why that uniqueness doesn't take out all of your offense.
Because there's still a precedent that needs to be set for the future to deter the future.
Okay, so it's because people will get time turners.
Yep.
But the uniqueness seems to cut both ways.
Agreed.
Either they get time travels, in which case I get virtue, or they don't get time turners, in which case you don't get an impact.
No, I get an impact. It deters future use.
Right, which would also just be my impact of use for virtue.
Sure, it cuts both ways. It
Okay,
doesn't undercut
so there's no link differential for why this uniqueness would affect my argument more than yours.
Well, your argument is it's good for the inculcation of virtue for like one kid, and my point is like, but that one kid using it sets a strong precedent for other
right.
people using
So,
it that's bad in the future.
What's the reason for why we think that time travel can't change time, given that it doesn't happen in Harry Potter books?
It does change time, though. Or more accurately, Hermione and McGonagall both say that it can change time, and that's like actual quotes from both of them from the book.
Okay, so you just
And
go
that's
for
also the end
ethical
of prep.
modesty, right?
Well, that's the end of prep.
Oh, that's fine. All right, we're gonna start on theory. Oh, thank you. So we're gonna start on theory on the voter specifically. Then we're going to go to case and then counterplan. Everyone ready? Lawrence, you ready?
Yeah.
Okay. Lawrence has dropped the beta for deterrence, but A, he's not just unusual, which means the deterrence is going to be wrong. A, the virtuous people were not deterred. It's just like killing an innocent person in order to create a deterrent effect against other future crime. But that's clearly not a virtuous action. Also would be a legitimate form of policy. He's also not justified that you as judges are legitimate agents, which means that so far is going to take out your ability to use deterrence in order to force me to do certain things. Also, deterrence is a ridiculous standard because it's going to justify us specifically using deterrence on people who are going to be able to frame. But that would logically mean that we should be theory against novices and trick them into doing things which claim is abusive. But that is the exact opposite thing we should do with theory. Which means the logic of deterrence would be the exact opposite of how we should evaluate fairness. They drop the argument, we rectify this concern because we only drop the arguments that we trick novices into reading in the first place. The argument is that it rectifies you, but it does not rectify you. It over-rectifies because it means I automatically lose for the students created. What would actually rectify you is I have to waste like a minute of my speech answering a shell that took Lawrence like 5 seconds to read. The implication is that drop the argument is going to better rectify you in this sort of situation, which means we're going to resolve this sort of problem so the nib would just go away. A couple of other arguments for why you should not drop the debater. What were the arguments I made last time? They were really good.
They were, but that was when I had the ad hoc interpretation and I changed it so you couldn't go for that.
That's true. Oh, well. I mean, so let's just give a couple of generic reasons why you shouldn't drop the debater. One, overcompensates, which means you don't have any sort of a reciprocity. You shouldn't get murdered because you, like, steal a candy bar. That would be ridiculous. Second, it's going to be inconsistent with virtue because it prevents our ability to learn from our mistakes and develop and come back. It's important to be able to come back from mistakes we make. This is conceded. Even if you don't think I'm winning that time travel is pertinent, the time travel, we especially get to look back at our mistakes and find ways to move forward and fix the problems we made. It's specifically conceded, which means under the virtue framework, it's going to be a positive good. All right, now let's talk about the AF extensions. So the first thing is that you are conceding the evidence that says it is literally impossible for time travel to make sense in a way that's going to change time. When Harry Potter go back, they already had changed the time, which means there is no change to the past. If there is no change to the past, it means that there aren't the sort of impacts that Lawrence is talking about that they're going to be able to have any sort of a big impact that's going to unravel. He's also conceded that the Croker card has a error theory. We can explain why Croker doesn't understand what he's talking about because he's trying to justify to himself the fact that he let his friend die because they're messing with time. So he created this ad hoc, ridiculous theory about why it was super dangerous so they couldn't feel like it was internalized to be his fault. He is conceding an author takeout that says legitimacy of Croker doesn't matter because smarter people are actually just better at able to justify themselves to people. This is empirically verified. People who know more about debate and people who know more about philosophy are better able to justify their own beliefs in a way that leads them further away from the truth, which means all the expertise arguments are going to be taken out if I'm winning, that he's not going to be particularly good at assessing this sort of impact. Lawrence also made a huge mistake because he read time travels make us less virtuous. If that's true, time travels makes us less virtuous, and Croker studied time, and he's not a virtuous person, so we definitely shouldn't trust him on these sort of moral questions because he's especially going to be especially bad at dealing with self-deception because he's just not a good person anymore. He's trained in secrecy. Lawrence says time travel teaches you to train in secrecy, which means he's being especially good at things like deception, which is exactly why we shouldn't trust the Croker evidence. This is going to have any sort of impact that Lawrence is going to have. It literally is impossible to change time. It doesn't make any sense either in the Harry Potter universe, nor is it coherent because the past would already have to be fixed in order to travel back to it, but if it's going to be fixed, it's not possible to have any sort of change. There is no possible impact. It's logically incoherent. This is as strong a defense as you could possibly have. This is like saying nuclear war is logically impossible because there is no such thing as nuclear energy. If I could have proved that, then that would have been terminal defense against any nuclear war scenario. The exact same thing is true here. It is logically incoherent to talk about people changing time. Now let's go into the counterplan. See, I actually have time this time, Lawrence. It's going to be fun. Oh, I guess we should talk about this ethical modesty thing first. Do I have answers to ethical modesty? I already pulled up my computer. No, I don't. Okay, a couple of points. First, ethical modesty is silly because it says that, let's say there's a 30% chance utility is true and a 70% chance virtue ethics is true. That means that both ethical theories, virtue says there's a 100% chance that you're not trying to maximize expected value. Utility says there's a 100% chance you're not trying to maximize expected value, which means there's a 100% chance that whichever theory is true, ethical modesty is not the correct way to make decisions. So there's no chance this is the correct way to evaluate sort of concerns, which means if I'm winning the Rousseau evidence, that's going to come first. Second, this is going to be particularly problematic for policymakers because we don't actually utilize any sort of ethical theory-based reasoning. The way we actually make decisions is just by looking at who we are from rule utilitarian standpoints, things of this sort, which means that ethical modesty is not going to be applicable to the Roe framework because it's not going to be applicable to governments. That doesn't really make sense, but whatever. Lawrence is going to be scared to go for anything philosophy-related. Now let's go to the NC, the counterplan. Okay, so first you can say on the counterplan text that we need to dissolve the British Crown. First, any poem that's going to involve the Ministry of Magic doing something first before is going to be illegitimate because the servants are going to take out that they literally cannot take this action because there's not a unity between the legislative will and the other people's will. I will concede that corruption doesn't have a bright line. That's fine, but you have made a huge mistake in not independently answering the other argument about democratic conclusion. Muggles do not know about the Ministry of Magic. They have no form of democratic checks. The Ministry of Magic does not have any sort of representation for Muggles except the Muggle Prime Minister. The Muggle Prime Minister doesn't solve because the Muggle Prime Minister has no power over what the Muggles do. They just go into like, oh, by the way, we let a bunch of criminals escape by. That is not any sort of meaningful democratic authority which allows them to be involved. This means that the all-affected interest principle via Gooding can be extended. He has conceded the Gooding card, which says the only way you can have democratic authority is if everyone who is affected by the decisions can participate in the democratic process. Literally, the Muggle government could listen to both wizards and Muggles when they dissolve this secrecy effect, but there's no possibility to include Muggles in the deliberation in the world of the counterplanet. That means that until that happens, there is literally no way to assess its impact. It's also going to come first because Lawrence is making a bunch of claims about what is going to happen when we don't deal with this sort of situation. We should not trust the government to make these sort of judgments because they're too corrupt. They won't consider Muggle impacts, which means even if the Ministry of Magic wants to consult wizards about how best to deal with this, they're the only ones who have the authority to do so. Off Lawrence's line-by-line claims. It doesn't solve the F. Fine, I'm winning defense against the F. Doesn't need to solve the F. I'm winning framework takeout. Conditionality voting issue. He conceded to drop the argument, meaning we drop the conditionality, so I'm stuck with the counterplan. That's fine. No link. No link to the Rousseau net benefit. There is because he conceded the good in evidence, which is going to be independent. Poem do both ban time travels and dissolve the Ministry of Magic. The problem is the Ministry of Magic shouldn't be the one to do it. We should let the government decide whether or not they're going to do that. Anything else is illegitimate. Conclusion doesn't follow the Ministry of Magic corrupt. I'm not going for the corruption scenario. I'm going for the democracy scenario. Poem do the counterplan net benefit becomes the new Ministry of Magic will pass the app. The problem is we cannot trust the Ministry of Magic to engage in this sort of reform because they're not legitimate. This is like if you say, "Hell, I know we should have Trump drain the swamp. He'll do a great job at it." No, if it's a corrupt government in the first place, you shouldn't trust their own mode of any sort of reform. We literally had to have the Voldemort take over and start a new Ministry of Magic before there was any sort of meaningful corruption proved. We're not going to have it. See, the magical is going to be a util impact. Also going to be taken out because wizards probably deserve anything that's coming to them, it seems like. Also, we're much more tolerant when it comes to now than we were in the Middle Ages when we thought magic was witchcraft. This means that no empirical evidence is going to generalize here. Strong precedent for time turns from the AF and neg. I've already taken out. The government can't do it right now because you can't do the AF until after you've done the negative.
Okay. 6 or 233 starting out.
You can get her.
Yeah, you can get me.
Oh.
Keep going.
Okay, the order is the case, then the counterplay.
Okay, anyone not ready? Okay. The case outweighs empiric should frame your decision. The argument that Marshall makes about smarter people being able to argue for whatever they want is what allows Marshall to say that it's okay for students to have time turners and that death for students is not an issue, which is just obviously ridiculous, which means you should err heavily against Marshall since he's obviously way smart about philosophy, but just wrong about the conclusion in this debate. It is, in fact, the AF solves the largest impact in the debate, which is self-harm and the destruction of time itself. Empiric should frame your decision because all of his application of some sort of vague theory cannot possibly explain how Alois died in St. Mungo's by traveling back to the year 1402 and then traveling 5 centuries into the future and then dying, which also immediately caused 25 of her descendants in the present to immediately become unborn. This doesn't rely on the paradoxes thing to be correct, but rather because it doesn't change the way that time conflicts with itself, but it just says that it does cause irreparable harm to the present now. If his theory cannot explain why that happened, you should distrust the theory because it obviously has missing holes, and empiric should frame your decision on this question. Only the AF is a tangible harm here that is capable of solving, and they've conceded AF solvency. Now, the line by line, they say it's impossible for time change to make sense in a way that changes the past. Empiric's framing above should answer this. They say Croker error theory. That is irrelevant because there's a ton of other cards in the AF that independently cite someone other than Croker that says that the time travel has killed a bunch of people, which is still a reason for why you should err affirmative. They say author takes out are sufficient. Even if you distrust Croker, the facts that he's had are not necessarily false, and he's not read any reason for why that would be the case. They say smarter people can justify themselves to others, which is exactly why you should distrust Marshall. He say the virtue turn cuts against me, but just because he's trained in secrecy also means that he's the only one who's qualified to talk about time, since only the Ministry of Magic has a department that is capable of studying time and knows exactly how bad it is, which means you should trust him in this limited circumstance. They say there's no possible impact. This argument was answered by the empirics framing, but the framework debate. Ethical modesty isn't required for me to win that people dying is still independently bad, and if his framework doesn't say that, then you should feel comfortable saying, yeah, but my framework, but any person who's even somewhat reasonable about morality should still care about it. The counterpoint. See, the magical was very undercovered. He conceded that this turns the net benefit because it causes the formation of a new government which is significantly more corrupt, even via the democracy net benefit that was extended in the 2NR proven since Muggle integration was a strong platform for Death Eaters, which was magnified by the fact that Marshall did not read a say yes card that the British government won't accept them and they'll create their own government, which is literally just Voldemort and the Death Eaters. If you think that's more corrupt, if you think that's somehow less corrupt than whatever the world of the negative that is envisioned, then obviously you can vote negative, but he's just wrong about this because in order for him to win that he's access to the democracy net benefit, he needs to win that new government government is more beneficial in the future. Second argument that was undercovered was that he does not prove why the government is irredeemable. This is a sort of ontology claim that is just unjustified via the state of the government. Reform is sufficient to solve, which is proven by the fact that Kingsley Shacklebolt weeded out corruption in the Ministry of Magic, and Hermione now operates as the Minister of Magic, who is now running a very legitimate place that cares about muggles as well, which is bolstered by permutation, do the AF, and then the counterplan. If you think that the AF has any value whatsoever, the permutation, do the AF as a sort of transition move should solve and shield every single link argument that the 2NR went for. Now, they say the only argument here was that any action can be that is taken is illegitimate. It's obviously untenable standard, and See the Magical was just undercovered, which turns this only argument. The AF outweighs, permutation shields the link. See the Magical completely takes out the counterplan. Vote AF.
Well done.
Good debate.